my intuition when I was looking at something, studying something, reading something, my intuition told me that that was what I needed to be doing, that I needed to study that, I needed to learn that, I needed to add that to my portfolio, I needed to do whatever it was. So I just want you to take a moment and use that intuition, use those instincts, and trust what you're feeling. Trust yourself today. Okay, we want you to be confident, or I want you to be confident in your consult, and you want to be confident in your consult. So let's trust that intuition. Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello everyone, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. How are you? So today I wanted to talk about trusting our intuition, trusting our instincts, trusting the gut feeling. We're being bombarded with information, products, courses. I mean, I'm bombarding you with a course because, I want you to be the confident consultant. So I'm talking to you about that. And that may or may not be something you want or need right now. And that is totally cool, right? But what I wanted to talk to you about was trusting our intuition. When people show up in front of us, sometimes it's there for a reason. Now, I don't know about you, but I actually quite like a little bit of IKEA furniture every so often. And when I talk about trusting your instincts, you start putting in that screw and it's not quite going right. And you think to yourself, no, it's going to go in, and you keep going. Whereas trusting your instincts is going, actually, this isn't going right for a reason. Let's just stop, have another look at the instructions, and maybe I'm using the wrong size, screwdriver or whatever it might be. You stop, you have to go back a step, but at least you didn't have to go back 5 steps or you didn't break it. And the same thing with our intuition and our instincts. We do need to listen to our gut. Now, all sorts of things have happened to me over the past and over my life. And one of them was setting up a business outside of home, actually taking on rooms, taking on an office. And a lot of people had said to me, you have to be out, you have to be in an office. People trust you more if you're in an office. And of course, I'd been really happy working at home. Now, when we went to look at the office, we convinced ourselves that it was the right space, and yet we both knew, we both heard what the neighbours on those properties said about the noise for the gym. We both heard that people said nobody walked past them and that the businesses on that side of the building all failed. We got told about the feng shui, but because we'd decided that this is what we wanted to do, we went into it with our eyes open and yet closed. We didn't listen to our instincts. And as the business went along in time, we're looking at each other going, this isn't working. This space isn't right. The building isn't okay. My colleague, she was consulting one day, and she was sitting there consulting, and a book fell off her shelf and onto her head while she was consulting. And that was because in the gym, one of the trainers got them to throw the medicine balls over their shoulder. Now, we knew this. We got told this, but we didn't listen because we were so excited about what we wanted to do. And then I think we actually both got to a point where we felt we were too deeply into it to stop and go, this isn't the right spot, let's go somewhere else. So sometimes it's a good idea to take a step back. And I did hear people say things, some of the things obviously I took on board. I took lots of good things on board as well. I learned lots from going into business, even though I lost a lot of money. And so did my partner. So, we learned lots. We didn't fail. It was a learning experience. But if we'd listened to our instincts, to our intuition, if we'd listened to our gut feelings about that space, we would have put the brakes on much sooner. Well, we would, instead of waiting until the lease was up, we would have put the brakes on it before it even started. So listening to our intuition can be many things. So to do with business, like that example, but also our clients. We can know that a client isn't right for us. That's not our ideal client. And I trust my intuition on this one. I think I've talked recently about a man I had come to see me at the beginning of the pandemic. He was booked in by his wife. Now, I know those people aren't for me. They haven't booked in themselves. It isn't them making that decision. So I already know through instinct that it isn't going to work. I already know through, what's gone on in my past and in the clients that I've seen that isn't going to work. My intuition told me it wouldn't work, and yet I still let it go ahead anyway. We all do these things. And recently I've done a lot of what I now know has a name. It's called procrastinating. It's a thing. And procrastinating is where you go off and you learn something new, something different, because you don't want to deal with what you do know or put what you do know into action, or you feel it isn't enough. So my trainings are about you being in there and doing it, and me helping you to create those consults, to create those conversations, to create that clinical setting that you want. That's what my trainings are all about, making you the better clinician, because I know you have the training. Sometimes we want to learn more, so parts of my training have, educational components as well, obviously. But aside from those educational components, there's also the how to do the thing, how to have the consult, how to speak to the client, how to get them to come back and do all of the things that are currently sitting there that we're really losing our confidence about, that we're worried about, that we're not sure about. And our instincts tell us that these need sorting out, but instead of following the instincts to say these need to be sorted out, instead of following that and going and sorting them out, instead, we're going to learn something new, as though something new is going to be the answer. And something new isn't the answer. It's what we already know. So when I first got into mentoring, didn't really know what it was. I had a book by Tara Mohair. And that book, in the very first chapter, it says women keep going out and learning more things, whereas men, as soon as they've done their degree, feel they know it all and they go out and get the job. So we're doing it to ourselves. And for men listening, you may be in the same situation. You've gone out and you've just done the job, or it might be that you're procrastinating as well. It might be that you are late to learning, which I think is different to that comment as well, because I think when we're later to learning, we realize how much we don't know. Whereas when we're early to learning, when we go straight from school to university, we're new to learning, or we're still in the learning frame. So we haven't understood how much we don't know yet. Whereas men or women, when they come to education late, realize how much they don't know, and they keep just wanting to learn more and more. But we can do that as we work. We can keep learning as we work alongside without allowing it to overwhelm our consulting capacity, our capacity to see our clients, our capacity to create packages and programs. When we're thinking about our intuition, it's about business, it's about the clients themselves, it's about the supplements. Sometimes, you can muscle test to see if a supplement suits your client or a herb suits your client. When I'm talking to clients and I'm making the herbal mix, and I will think, oh yeah, they need this and they need that and they need this, and I think, oh, I just need something to tie it together. And I'll look at my herbal shelf and I'll look at the client, and something will pop into my head. Now, when I think about that thing, because, I think to myself, a bit of licorice. Oh, yeah, that'd be really good for this client. Now, it might mean that, that client, I really want to smooth things out, settle, calm, modulate. That's what I always think of when I think of licorice. Whereas I might sit there and be looking at the same mix and then go, ginger. This person needs warming up. They need stimulating. They need the things that, and I'd never mix ginger and licorice. I wouldn't put those two together. You're a ginger or a licorice in my world. So when we think about these things, lots of these things are intuition. They're from our knowledge base. Obviously, deciding someone's a licorice person over a ginger, that's from my knowledge base, from my learning, from having done this job a really long time. But at the same time, there's an intuition in there, and there's intuition about here in the moment. Okay, a bit sad. The day my father died, my daughter, her skirt was coming down in the front. like the hem. Now, I said to her, just get stapler out. That's my answer to hemming, is get stapler out. We staple it, you put the sharp bit of the staple on the outside so it doesn't touch the skin. I was like, come here, we'll just staple it. And she said, no, it needs to be fixed. And I looked at her and I said, you're going to be late for school. And she said, I want it fixed. I went, and my intuition, so there's two things. I can get you to school on time, not sign you in, not have the bother of being late, all the rest of it. Or I can stop for a minute and give my daughter the time that she feels she needs to put this hem in place. Iron-on hemmer. I didn't get out the needle and thread. I've got to say, there wasn't time for that. But I did, I just had to rummage through and find the iron-on mender. So I rummaged through. I was like, okay, let's just do this. Rummaged through, found the iron-on mender, started mending the skirt, and got the phone call about my father on the landline, which I wouldn't have otherwise got if we'd left when we were meant to. If we'd left even a little bit late, if I'd used the stapler, we would have missed that call. So lots of things, as I'm sure you know, and you're sitting there or standing or walking or doing the dishes or whatever you're doing, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, that happened to me. My intuition told me about that. This other thing happened that made my intuition say it was time for me to move house, or I had to go out, or I had to go and do something. My intuition, when I was looking at something, studying something, reading something, my intuition told me that that was what I needed to be doing, that I needed to study that, I needed to learn that, I needed to add that to my portfolio, I needed to do whatever it was. So I just want you to take a moment and use that intuition, use those instincts, and trust what you're feeling. Trust yourself today. Okay? We want you to be confident, or I want you to be confident in your consult, and you want to be confident in your consult. So let's trust that intuition. If my course, the one coming up, Conducting Confident Consults, is the course for you, this might be the trigger, this conversation that says, yeah, actually, this is what I need. I want to work within my knowledge base, and I want to start really spreading my word to people and getting them to share my word, not me having to learn another whole job and me be a marketer, but rather that they share who I am. They're the ones who tell me how much they love me and that they want to see me, and that they come back to see me again and again. And that's what being the confident consultant is all about. So I really hope you can join me, and thank you for joining me on the Bite Size podcast today. And as always, if instinct tells you on this occasion, it'd be really nice if you gave me a review and shared the podcast with your friends. So have an absolutely brilliant one, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.